Hi, gang. This is Frankie Mish of Sleepwaker, and we're creating madness on the Madness to Creation podcast.
And welcome to the Madness to Creation podcast, where you freaking matter. This is Maddie. How are you? And here I have with me is the drummer of the awesome band Sleepwaker, Frankie Mish. And on July 23rd, Sleepwaker recently released their album entitled Alias via UNFD. And I gotta tell you what, it's a very intriguing, futuristic, it's a very awesome record to listen to. And what I really, before we get into the podcast, what I really want to get into is just talk about the album a little bit. And what I love about the album is just how it weaves together to form this story. And it seems like it's personal, yet there are concepts that allow the listener to dive even deeper into the music. And it also shows, according to Frankie Mish, also shows just all the work that they put in to continue to evolve as a band. And what I really like is that it just seems to weave together just to tell a story. And also the diversity of the music. Take a point, their main single, Untitled Melatonin, and first of all, kudos to them. They're on their way to 1 million streams on that song via Spotify. So what I want you to do, Sleepwaker fans, is to go on Spotify, type in Sleepwaker Melatonin, and just stream the heck out of the thing. Let's get that song to 1 million streams. That would be absolutely awesome. And what is so cool about that track, it has a very cool driving beat to it, yet it has some little bit of offbeat time signatures. Don't take offbeat as bad or anything like that, but where it just kind of takes you on a journey. And what I also appreciate about this album is an interlude to that song called Cold Moon. And what I really like about it is, while I would have personally put that track as the first song on the album Alias to kind of, I just felt like it would be a better place for that. But at the same time, it's just cool how it intertwines in between Strangers and Melatonin in the record. And it fits as well. Personally, I've always been accustomed to hearing interludes or introductions, the first track of the record, not the fourth track. But Sleepwaker throws a curveball at you, and they make it work. They obviously know what they're doing, whereas I'm just, kind of talking about it from my perspective on when I listen to it, and that's just kind of how I take it. And what I really like is just the ambiance and everything else just tells a story. And this is not your typical hardcore, metalcore, whatever core kind of band that a person would listen to. To me, Sleepwaker stands themselves out by just creating this into one big story, where it mixes a little bit of science fiction, where it mixes a little bit of just hardcore music. There's post-hardcore elements, there's mathcore elements. There's so many different kinds of elements in there, and it makes for a very eclectic listen. Where I could see somebody that doesn't typically listen to this style of music get behind a band like Sleepwaker, and to me, you can't throw a much higher compliment to a band than that. And like I said, check out Alias, and also I hope you really enjoy this interview with Frankie Mish. We talked a lot about plants. Because in his background, there was a lot of foliage in there, and Frankie Mish, while he does the drumming, and he's an incredible drummer, and he is a plant guy, and we were talking about how plants actually have personalities, which I believe they do, and we also talked about just mental health, getting through the pandemic and everything like that. Whether we are still in the pandemic or not, I think we are, but look at the science and data. I'm just going off what's based upon the data and stuff like that. So I'm not trying to sway a person one way or another when it comes to that. Just do your own research, draw your own conclusions. You're smart. You're able to think for yourself and stuff like that. And you know what? Just so you know, I hope that you found like some cool hobby through when we were all locked down in quarantine and stuff like that. Mine turned out to be podcasting, and I really like connecting with you guys. And I really want to hear from you guys. Email me at madnesscreation@gmail.com if you're interested in being on the show. I would love to talk to you. And also check out Sleepwaker on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and check out this podcast on wherever you stream it. But don't go to Apple Music because we're not on Apple Music. I'm working on getting us on Apple Music and all that. So, but mainly, the best way to connect with us is madnesscreation.com, Facebook, Twitter, and I'm going to say Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok at Madness Creation, and on Twitter at MTC Madness as well. And super thank you to Frankie for taking the time with us, and I hope to talk to him again. And hopefully you guys enjoy this episode. Take it away, Frankie. Welcome to the Madness of Creation podcast, where self-care and music merge. This is Maddie. How are you? Here I have with me is Frankie Mish of the awesome band Sleepwaker. Frankie, how are you doing?
Pretty good. How about you?
Oh, not too bad. I'm just hanging in there, enjoying the summer. And how's your summer going so far?
It's pretty good. It's not, I mean, it feels like it just started like last week, but yeah, it's been pretty warm here in Michigan, but
yeah, it's like we are having a heat wave, not to quote that disco song from the 70s, but we're actually having a heat wave. It's just been crazy. So do you prefer hot or cold weather?
Definitely cold weather. Yeah. You can't take off. You can only take off so many layers, but you can definitely warm up enough in the winter. Adding blankets and yeah,
definitely. And kind of a habit of mine since I've been doing podcasting. Roughly, we have about 55 episodes aired. And I think part of it is my ADHD personality. I get to gawking at backgrounds and stuff like that. I am looking over to your left, and it looks like there's a couple plants there, and I'm trying to figure out the brown thing on your left. Can you? So can you talk about that real quick?
the flag or the thing hanging up above it or this thing here?
Yes.
Yeah, all of it. I mean, that's a Periphery flag. Nice. I think it's P4 or the gold album. That's a basket that one of my old roommates gave me a long time ago, and this is just my closet door. Okay, it's kind of messy. It's kind of messy down there, so I don't really want to show that off. But that's my Croton that I've been taking care of over quarantine and everything. And then I've got like skylights in my room. It's like a super old house, but it's really cool.
That is awesome.
I just hung fake vines and everything from it. So yeah.
Oh, that is so cool. So like, first of all, based upon that, how much has Periphery influenced your music? Why is that band name so hard to say?
I don't know if they've necessarily influenced our music so much, but more like the way they do things and like the theories and stuff that they like put out onto the internet. And by that I mean like just having fun with your music and like not taking things too seriously, like taking it seriously but being able to have fun with it. And like if you go on any of our like our sleepy posting group or like our Twitter or anything, I like bands that can connect with people in like a humorous way, even if their music isn't, or they talk about serious things and stuff like that, like just to kind of show that you're a real person. Mm-hmm. And I think Periphery does that perfectly. Like they're not just this nameless, huge band group of people that you're like, oh man, this music is incredible, and they're pretentious about it and blah, blah, blah. They're just like on the internet hanging out. They appear at random places and they just like, pop in to say hey sometimes. Like I think that kind of mentality is great. But yeah,
so what are a couple of the random places that they've visited and stuff? Like Where
Oh, like he's just on like the It Gent forums and like the Facebook groups and stuff like that. Misha will just pop in. Their guitarist will pop in here and there and stuff, and then you just see members interacting with people. Like they're not like you think of them as like these big famous people or people that aren't going to take the time out of their day to say hey to like the smaller like fans or bands or whatever. But I think like they definitely have that we're not bigger than anyone kind of feel.
Mhm.
So yeah, I think that's a good way of looking at everything and traversing the industry.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
And speaking of like your background and stuff like that, uh do you what got you started into gardening? What or like collecting plants or whatever? I don't know if people
Oh,
collect plants, but
yeah,
you
yeah.
know what I mean?
I mean, I've got this guy, and then I've got a tiny dying bonsai over there that I need to take more care of. And then I actually went to Buffalo the other day with my girlfriend and got this guy from the botanical gardens.
Well, that's so
Um,
cool.
but other than that, I have like succulents at my desk and stuff. And I think it was just over quarantine. I'm at home all the time. I work from home. I'm a freelance graphic designer, so I just kind of
Oh, so
sit
cool.
there and I have free time to just water them here and there. And it looks nice. It fills out the room without having to get like pointless furniture, like that kind of stuff.
Oh, definitely. And there's something therapeutic about gardening, about plants and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I have a friend of mine. Her name is Kendra Knopf, and she always has this joke with me that if she ever has another son, she's going to name him Jack
Yeah.
Knopf. So,
Yeah. Nice.
anyway, she's one of the funniest people I know. And her and her fiance recently opened up a kind of a plant store. Don't ask me what the name of it because it's leaving my brain right now.
Yeah, yeah.
And she tells me that these plants have personalities and stuff like that. Do you agree with her on that assessment?
I mean, this guy's pretty tough. I think a little bit. Like they definitely have some personality. I've had some plants that are now passed, but my first test runs as to whether or not I could take care of plants. But yeah, I think to an extent, I had one really big succulent for a while that was just like you'd take care of it, do everything possible, and it would just start dying, and then I would neglect it every once in a while. Like I'd leave the house and forget to water it or something, and I'd come back and it's doing perfectly fine. But as soon as I pay attention to it, and like, yeah, or not a succulent, it was a different. I think it was a money tree or something like that, like a small money tree. And
There's actually a money tree.
it's called like a money tree. It's the leaves are like circular and are shaped kind of like dollars, but
That
or like quarter stuff like that, coins, blah blah
my
blah.
mind is legit blown right now.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not an actual money tree or anything, but yeah.
Yeah, that would be so cool if it was actual currency someday. That way,
Oh,
does money
absolutely.
grow on trees? Absolutely does, because we have a money
Yeah.
tree. Yeah, and so like, do you do any gardening outside, or is it just like inside?
Not so much. Me and my roommates took a day the other day we live out in like the middle of the woods, and we have a lot of ground cover and vines rather than like grass and everything. So we took some time to like weed whack the vines back and like actually make pathways and everything. I'm really not a huge gardener. I'm more of like an indoor plant guy, but yeah, my mom's huge into gardening, so I used to do it here and there, but I would always complain when I was younger. So now
Yeah,
I've definitely come around.
yeah, definitely. And just tell us about your musical upbringing. Like, you brought up your mom. Like, did you grow up like in a musical household or anything like that? Or
Oh
and
yeah,
plus,
yeah.
how close are you to your family?
Oh, I'm pretty very close. Yeah, they come to all our shows. They're constantly like supporting the band, and yeah. So my dad was in a bunch of punk bands when he was younger, and
How cool was that?
I mean, I wasn't around when he was in the punk bands and everything.
Sure.
But he played in a bunch of like rock bands, and I played in a Beatles cover band with him and like my uncle. And yeah, my whole dad's side of the family is very musical. Like he plays bagpipes and the fife, and like
Wow.
he does all kinds of stuff. He's a drummer though, mainly. And he taught me like guitar and things. So he had drums laying around the house, and like I always had like an in on whatever instrument I wanted to test out, aside from like violin and fiddle and stuff. Like he was very much a like woodwind guitar, drums kind of deal. But yeah, so I definitely had a lot of drums laying around, and that was kind of where I got into playing the drums.
So in the future, will we expect any like woodwind or fiddle instruments at Sleepwaker?
I mean, I so there's a band called Foxing.
I've
And
heard of them.
yeah, they are incredible. I love that band. There's a song called Bastardizer off of it's the album with the horses on it. Don't remember the exact name on it, but they have a song Bastardizer, and there's a bagpipe lead that like plays out the song, and I love that. Like I thought it was so cool. It's like a shoegaze kind of band, like very
Nice.
indie soft kind of stuff. And since hearing that, I was like, man, it'd be so sick to write a song, have my dad play bagpipes on it or something. But yeah, for now, I mean, that's not really in our sound. So someday, hopefully.
Yeah, definitely. And speaking of your music and everything like that, I checked out the music. I'll be honest with you, I wasn't sure what to expect with Sleepwaker,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
I checked out the music video for Distance, and it
Mhm,
kind of fell off my chair because it was very highly emotive,
mhm.
and it had like very odd isn't the right word, but very different, diverse time signatures in there and everything like that.
Mhm.
How did you? How do you guys prepare that song in the studio? And it seems like it's a very personal track as well.
Yeah, so it was we
It's kick
we
ass
wrote
tune,
it.
by the way.
Thank you. Yeah. We
Absolutely.
wrote it with it was me, our producer Lee, and I think our guitarist Jake was there too, and we were just kind of like bouncing off ideas and like running through the songs and stuff. And we're like, I had this song written called Cold Moon, which is going to be on the album, but we completely changed it. It was a full like 4.5 minute song, and then we started working on it, and we were like, this just it's like it's good,
Mhm.
but I feel like we can write a better version of this. So we shortened it down and turned it into the interlude, and then we started like sitting down and like looking through leads and other ideas we'd had. And Lee had this really cool lead that he came up with, and we kind of just based that around. That's the one that you hear throughout the whole song. um and then we just kind of built a chorus, and then from there placed all the parts in, built out the verses. And when we were writing it, we were like, this isn't a Sleepwalker song, this doesn't sound like us at all. And then eventually we like fleshed the whole thing out, and we are like, okay, this is probably the best song that we've done. That I think that time signature change that you're talking about, I think it just switches to I think it's 2/4. It just goes down to 2/4 for a real quick second. For I think like 3 or 4 measures. And then it goes back into the breakdown part. And that's when we were like, okay, this is how we kind of connect it back to us. Like we definitely wanted a chorus, big song, epic sound, and then have really emotive lyrics over it. And it was kind of a collaboration between Hunter and I on that one. But he's the one that had like spearheaded, I guess, the concept of it. I originally wrote it, or some of the lyrics, about like me and my grandfather driving around. Then like he would do that to like help me fall asleep when I was younger, because they used to babysit me.
Oh, sure.
And then we kind of completely changed the meaning of it, and Hunter came in and wrote it about it, like rewrote the lyrics and everything about his grandfather who had just recently passed,
Oh, so sorry to hear about
from
his loss.
from dementia. So he was,
Oh,
yeah, he was saying it would, he really wanted to like put that feeling and emotion into a song. So we kind of like stepped back and like let him just rework the song into that feeling. And it turned out great. Like we didn't use any of my lyrics or put anything down on the original demo, but there was like a mix of like some stuff that he wrote and some lyrics that I wrote, and then we just put them together on that song. And I think it really really worked for him. Like it definitely helped a lot. And it was, yeah, pretty therapeutic, because we usually write our songs from like a concept, like either from a movie or pop culture or something like that, and then like boil the theme down and write the song from there. And I think we did this for Relief. Relief is about losing someone as well. That was my grandfather who passed, and then this one is about his grandfather who passed. So it's definitely like a theme to like have the big things that are affecting us right now make their way into our songs for sure. And like at least once an album.
Yeah, definitely. And kind of I can relate to it because back in 2010 I lost my grandfather as well. And I remember like my favorite memories are some simple, just as he liked these Stars chocolate that that you put in the deep freezer and stuff, and I would just gorge myself on them because they were amazing. And he had this big deep freezer and all that stuff, and he always had A&W root beer and stuff like that. And those are kind of some of my favorite memories. If you care to share, what are some of your favorite memories with your grandfather?
Yeah, I mean the lyric "Bloodshot Eyes from Distance" is referencing me. Was referencing me sitting in the back seat of his car driving around, just kind of like trying to fall. Like I was young, like pretty young, so
like were you like 7-8 years old, or you?
Yeah, it would have been around that time. So like young enough to remember for sure. But yeah, so I was like it'd be like past midnight, and I'd be extremely tired and stuff, and he'd just drive around. And yeah, I remember that happening a lot, and like looking out the window and stuff like that, just driving along Grand Rapids. And they lived actually in the town that I live in right now, just outside of Grand Rapids, Comstock Park. And there's like a nice park in the area, and we just kind of slowly drive around there in the residential area. And it's a very small downtown. So it's like an old saloon town kind of looking thing.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. But modernized now. But
for sure.
Yeah, so we drive down that, and it's a very long, relaxing road. And yeah. So that was definitely one of the big things.
Yeah, absolutely. And kind of based upon that, since it's a very personal song that you've released, have you guys had fans come up to you, like whether at shows or through your social media, whether Instagram, Facebook, or anything like that, and say, you know what, that song resonated with me. That song really helped me get through?
Yeah, for our song Relief, we've had that for sure. That and Bitter. Relief and Bitter were huge. Those definitely kind of struck a chord with people, I think. And Turnaround is about someone leaving, like parent or relationship, partner, whatever you want to.
Kind of like abandonment, so to speak.
Yeah. We definitely like to be very ambiguous when we're writing our lyrics, because we don't want it to be like only about us and our experience. We want people to be able to connect to the song, and it's kind of an open letter to whoever it fits to, like if the boot fits kind of deal.
Absolutely.
So writing those songs, we've had people come up and say like, hey, I struggled with drug addiction, I struggled with like vices or whatever, and Bitter specifically, and they just talk to us about that. And we don't necessarily have a ton of experience with it, but it was just something that we through other people had seen, and like talking to them, we wanted to kind of express that through songs and themes. And then Relief, obviously that was huge for loss. That was like, I wrote that like the day after my grandfather passed. And then like the lyrics and the instrumental. And then I think it's nice to have people come up and say like, we identify with this thing, and if it's completely different than yours, you kind of like succeeded. Like if it's not the same thing, if it's not, oh yeah, my grandfather passed, it's like, oh, my dog passed, or my friend passed, or something like that. I think it's nice to know that people can find some comfort in whatever you're releasing.
Oh, I agree 100%. And I know you mentioned earlier that Hunter, the vocalist, very recently lost his grandfather. How important was it for you and the band members to not reunite, but unite around Hunter to help him get through?
Yeah, I mean, we kind of just gave him, I guess, space, really.
Sure.
We were like, we're here, like if you need to talk about it or anything like that. But I think just kind of backing up and letting him feel and then put that into a song was really important for him. So, because
Yeah.
obviously being artists, you want to have a hand in what you're making.
Right.
But with that one, it was there were some things that we messed with and changed, because this was turning out to be like one of all of our favorite songs on this album. Like, we loved this sound and this style. So there were some things where we came in after the fact, after he'd done exactly what he'd wanted, and we said, like, what if we did this? What if we like changed this pattern here, or blah blah blah. But I think it was important to have him put himself entirely on it first.
Definitely. And I noticed, just based upon our conversation, listening to your music and stuff, there is a real chemistry with the band. And it just seems like there's just a really good camaraderie. And what keeps the chemistry going between you and the guys in the band?
I mean, our guitarist Jake is an insanely hard worker. He's just dedicated. If you need him for something, he'll be there. Like, if he says he's going to do this, then he's going to do it. Aaron is a great guy to have on our team, our bassist. He's just constantly like trying to make it to the next step of our career as a band, constantly pushing. Always, he's like the third party when any of us get into like arguments or like discussions or debates or anything. He's the one that comes in and goes like, okay, well, did you think about this? And what about this? And like, I agree with this person and I see his perspective and his perspective. He's a good moderator. And our guitarist Jason does a lot of the video stuff with me. And it's nice to have a team that's like willing to collaborate on visuals, and it's all done in-house. So we have full control over it. It's not someone that doesn't understand the band or doesn't know what we're doing coming in and like creating something that's almost there. I mean, sometimes it's almost there, but like most of the time it's entirely there and we're good to go. Like, there's no limitations on a lot of our stuff. Yeah, and with Hunter, he and I write a lot of the lyrics for all the songs, and Jake and I have been on this album, especially, we've been writing a lot more together, rather than I just take an instrumental and write it myself, and then Jake goes and writes a couple of riffs and brings it here, and then we like finalize it or something. It's like we sit together in the same room. We have 2 songs that he and I did that on for this album, and then 1 song that Aaron and I did that on. And yeah, we've just had a lot more collaboration on this album, and it's been nice to see that kind of come together. And we've noticed all our strengths and kind of weeded out all the weaknesses that were like, we can move past this. Like, this is something that we can just like forget about doing. So.
Oh, definitely. And basically, lost my train of thought here for a second. Here we go. I got it. Did you guys have to adjust your songwriting and coming together because of COVID or anything like that? Or was this EP all done before COVID?
I think it was actually better for, like, I mean, I've said this in a few interviews, but I actually had a pretty good like quarantine. Like, it was pretty solid. Actually, we got to the plan was originally going on a ton of tours and having a ton of time taken up by being on the road, and then all of a sudden all these tours are canceled, and it's like, okay, well, we all have the time off, let's just go into the studio instead. So we actually had more time to do this one than we've had any other album. And just the amount of, and I live with our producer, so there were a lot of times where it was like, okay, well, this band can't come in because they one of their members tested positive or something like that. So now he has a free week and we can just work on Sleepwaker now, rather than like the next month or something. So it was kind of nice to really sit down and like work through and find all those intricacies that we hadn't had a chance to do, or like sit down and analyze from before. Then we just took our time with it too, because we were like, okay, well, nothing's happening for a while. Like, let's plan to release this sometime when things are opening up and we can play it live, because we don't want to have to release something and then like the album cycle's over and you're not playing those songs anymore, or people aren't as hyped for those songs. So yeah, I think it was actually kind of nice to sit back and grow with the whole quarantine thing happening.
definitely. What is the number one thing that you learned about yourself and that you want to take with you in a post-pandemic world?
Um, that I can just, I mean, this is kind of the opposite of what some people are doing, but I can like start taking more risks. Like, uh, and by that I mean like I left my marketing job that I was at before COVID quarantine, and I'm doing freelance stuff. I'm working for myself. Like I'm comfortable where I am, and I'm happy where I am,
It's awesome.
versus doing things that like I don't want to have to do, or that are limiting, or oh, I can't do this because of this. Like trying to eliminate the other thing that's stopping me from doing the thing I really want to do. Um, that means working way harder, but it also means you can play way harder. So yeah, it's definitely something I realized.
Yeah, was getting out of your comfort zone, so to speak, was that a challenge for you at first, or were you just like, screw it, I'm ready to do this?
I've always played it pretty safe. I've been like the band, they call me the band dad or band mom. uh, so I was always the one that was like, let's not do this thing. Let's not play, like, let's not take a risk on this specific thing. And I mean, there are some things that have come up where I'm like, that's not worth it. But I mean, I'm not being as picky anymore. Like I'm well, I guess more picky in certain areas and less picky in other areas, because now we actually feel like a legitimate business, and we're like making spreadsheets and all this stuff, budgets, and yeah. So it's nice to feel like we're actually getting somewhere. But it's also kind of cool to just do things that we want to do, like creative expression wise, and say like, okay, well, now that we have this budget and we have this much money, how can we do the coolest possible thing for our fans, like live set and um uh just entertainment media wise, like the videos that we're putting out, and the live sets we're going to be doing, and the stage props and all this stuff. And by stage props I mean like lighting and everything like that, but not like a mannequin on stage or something. But yeah, that's kind of, it's been nice being able
Yeah,
to kind of like step out and just go put all our money into making this the best it can be, rather than let's hoard everything and wait for something. Because at this point, it's like when everybody comes back from COVID, you have to stand out. Like so many people have been sitting back, prepping, getting ready to do something huge when everything gets back to normal. But now it's like, what are you going to do that's huge? But that's going to compete with these other people. I guess not compete, but like hold up with these other people.
yeah. So, what are some secrets for Sleepwaker standing out from the rest of the pack?
I mean, I don't want to, it's not time yet, but I don't want to give away too many.
For
but
sure, for sure.
but yeah. I mean, the light shows are big. We've done some cool things with like we've set up monitors on top of our cabs and stuff that are, it's just a TV that's sized to our cabs, in a fake cab basically, because we use 2x12s. So it's like half the size of a normal cab, and then we just stack another cab on top of it with a TV screen in it.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so it's just an added like little visual thing, and there's some other things too that we're adding that are also like that. But yeah, I'm excited to show everybody.
Yeah, definitely. And you guys seem to keep it real on your social media as well. And how important is that for you, for your audience? Like whether it's on Instagram, Facebook. Do you guys have TikTok,
Oh,
by the way?
we do, but I'm not a TikTok guy, like
Fair
at
enough.
all. And I think only one of us goes on TikTok really, but like we're not plugged into the creation of TikTok stuff. Um, but yeah, our Twitter and social media stuff, like the Facebook group we have, Sleepy Posting, which is just like jokes and funny things about the band, and some like behind the scenes insider stuff and like heads up on what's coming next. Um, all of that we like to keep pretty real and relaxed, because on our Facebook and our Instagram and like our constant, I guess you could say quote unquote serious uh serious channels. We like to be kind of like artsy and a little creative, but that can come off as like a little self-absorbed. So I think going on Facebook and posting like coming soon or whatever, and then going on Twitter and then making a joke about that is like kind of nice to break that like fake social media wall of like, buy this thing and here's this promotion and here's this thing and this thing. But
Yeah, definitely. And like kind of circling back to your album, July 23rd, you released an Alias through UNFD. And what are a couple of songs that you are absolutely that you're jonesing for? I don't know if people say Jones anymore, but I'm gonna bring it back. That you're jonesing for playing live.
Yeah, the title track Alias, I'm really excited for, honestly. We do some cool things in that song and some technical drum parts that I'm really, really excited for. That one, Strangers, is a really, really fun song. That's just, we definitely didn't focus on being as heavy on this record, but that song is the heavy song. Like, it's just straight up heavy. And it's a lot of fun. And then we've got our song Serenity is really kind of unique for us, and it's like a standout track on the record. And I'm very, very excited for that one. That one's gonna be a lot of fun.
Absolutely. And just kind of a couple more questions I have for you. What's next for the band? Like, you guys have any tour plans coming up, or like, are you guys kind of taking a wait and see approach?
Yeah. So we take all of it very seriously, coming back and, being safe during all this stuff, the COVID regulations and everything. But we do have a show July 10th, and it's with our friends Victims. We'll be playing like some of the newer stuff, and it's going to be nice to kind of come back and see people's reactions to it. It's definitely I was more on the wait and see kind of side of things. So we took that one because we wanted to support Victims and we wanted to play with them, and we've known each other for a really long time. But after that, we're going to be kind of holding back and waiting for shows to come back here and there. We have some stuff talking about some stuff in October, some stuff in November. But I think at this point, it's the people that are going to be going to those shows are people that want to go to those shows. They're people that feel comfortable or hopefully are vaccinated, very hopefully are vaccinated, and understand the risks of going back to a show. And I definitely don't want to put anyone in danger at shows or anything, but I think you can only hold off for so long before it's going to be there's like hide or waiting in fear, and then there's also like saying, here, if you guys are comfortable with this, here's this opportunity. So
yeah, it's kind of one of those things. I have a couple comments on that. Like last Saturday, we covered a show from a band called Buck Cherry, and it was at a cap of 2,500 people in a ballroom, and there was like maybe 200 people at the show, and it kind of showed me that people are still very anxious about being around each other during COVID and everything like that. And also, it's like I find myself watching like live videos from a couple of 3 years ago. It's hard for me to fathom how close we were to each other, like people jumping on top of each other. It's called crowd surfing and everything like that. So do you think the shows are going to be different, especially from your band's perspective, or what do you think on that?
I mean, I don't know, because I think metal has a different kind of culture around it.
Well, it's a beautiful culture.
Yeah. I mean, I really hope people feel comfortable going to these shows, and eventually it gets back to that point where everyone can be really close. And but I think as long as everyone's taking it seriously and understands what's going on and doesn't and respects other people's opinions of not wanting to be involved or not wanting to be as close or anything like that, I think that's very good. it's a fine line, honestly. I think there are a lot of opinions that one way or the other that are very valid, and it's all about, we're not like saying, okay, if you don't go to this show, then you're afraid, or it's bad or whatever. Like, totally valid if you don't want to go, because
Right.
if you don't want to go, you don't want to go. But I think giving people the opportunity is good, because it kind of shows like, okay, so people are getting a little bit more comfortable, and if you are, then you can go. And yeah, like the Buck Cherry thing, like they could have fit all those people, but I mean, only X amount of people wanted to show up. And for some bands, that's definitely a huge hit, because that's their livelihood. But for other bands, sometimes it's just like, let's have fun. Like, it's the first time back in a while, like we're all excited. Let's just, do it respectfully.
Yeah, and I think they're at the point in their career where they can afford to, as you said, take that hit.
Yeah,
I mean, they've been doing this since probably 97 or 99. And
absolutely.
and so like at a Sleepwaker show, what can fans expect? And are you guys going to do any live streams?
So I don't know if I can talk
Okay,
about the live
that's
stream thing that we're working on, but
fair enough.
there are some plans. And at a Sleepwaker show, I guess, high energy, pretty much just coming from us. Like, we're extremely excited, and we really, really want to get back on stage. And all the guys we've always been kind of a high energy band anyway. Like, that's the majority of the show, is just us, flying around on stage. But it's definitely going to be exciting to like be back in that area. And I would say that this next time we come back, it'd probably be higher production, and we're going to be very meticulous about how we present ourselves, and not in like a choreographed kind of way, but just we want to be perceived as like, a professional. Like, this is our career choice. Like, this is what we want to do. We're going to put everything we've got into it. So
yeah, definitely. And a question I usually ask guests on the podcast is what is the soundtrack to your life? Like, let's say what are some songs or albums that help you get through when times get difficult?
that's a hard one. I change music tastes a lot. But I'd say probably Movements, their most recent album. I don't remember the name, but I listen to it
How
all the
good
time
is
on
that
Spotify.
band?
They are insanely good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Their new album, the one with the newer album. It's a guy with it's a paper. It's an image of a guy printed on paper, and half his face is ripped, and then it's an image of someone else's face. I don't remember.
I
It's
know
got
what you're talking about.
Skin to Skin is on that album.
Yep.
But yeah, that album I love. Like, that's my go-to for, sad music. That Turnover is huge. I love Turnover.
Turnover is great too. And what else would you like to add in regards to Sleepwaker? Like, whether it's talk about Alias, where people can find you, anything like that. Find you on the internet, of course, not like
on the stuff. We are at Sleepwaker Band on all our socials. YouTube.com/sleepwaker. We have the new album coming out July 23rd. We have a new single coming out tonight, midnight. There will be in the group, the chat, like going through and saying hey to everyone. It's called 110 minutes. And then we have some cool merch designs that I was just working on before this interview, that'll be dropping soon. And yeah, I'm extremely proud of this album and what's coming up for the band.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be a good album to check out. And real quick, can you plug your freelance graphic design business and where people can find you and stuff?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm called Eventide Design Co. It's actually this guy. If you're watching video, it's a little smiley face heart. Yeah, Eventide Design Co. I work with a bunch of different bands, and I'm always happy to work with anyone that needs some work.
That's awesome. And Frankie, it was so much fun talking to you on the Madness Creation podcast.